Here's an explanation for today's FRQ on monopoly. First part says, assume that Cosmic Energy has a monopoly in the production and sale of a new device for detecting and destroying a computer virus. Cosmic Energy currently incurs short-run losses, but it continues to operate. A asks, what must be true for Cosmic Energy to continue to operate in the short run? It must be true that price is greater than AVC. That would be true for a firm in any market structure in the short run, that they must be able to cover their average variable cost of production. B says, draw a correctly labeled graph and show each of the following. So to draw the graph, first of all, of course, you need to draw your axes. And you need to, for the monopoly, okay, you need to have marginal cost and average total cost. And then, of course, you want to have the demand curve. And it's really important in this one that you make sure that demand curve is going to be below the ATC, because you know there's going to be a loss. So when you draw it, I want to make sure demand is going to actually be below ATC. And it makes sense to do it all the way. So there's no point at which demand is above ATC. And then you need to have a marginal revenue line, which is below the demand curve. So the first point was earned for A. Of course, we're saying price is greater than AVC. Okay, in B, there are actually 4 points. 1 point is for having a correctly labeled graph with PQ demand and a marginal revenue line that's below that. 1 point for identifying the profit maximizing quantity. So you want to look for where MR crosses MC. So the profit maximizing quantity would be here. And then you had to identify the price. And the price, some of you drew a line that went across here. Okay, but that's not the price for a monopolist, right? Because the monopolist is going to charge as much as the market will bear. So the monopolist looks to the demand curve, right, to tell them what their price will be. So the price will be where quantity, right, the quantity line straight up to the demand curve. All right, then you had to, and it had to be below ATC because you know there's a loss. And then you had to show the loss area, and this is where people got really confused because a lot of people wanted to draw down to the loss area. But loss is always between price and ATC. Okay, just like profit's always between price and ATC, but here we know that ATC is going to be above price, so we have a loss. So this would be the area of loss right here. Okay, so that's what the graph is supposed to look like, and that's worth 4 points. 1 point for having demand and MR, 1 point for correctly identifying the output level, 1 point for correctly identifying the price on the demand curve, and 1 point for the area of loss. All right, part C asks, assume this firm is maximizing its profit. What will happen to total revenue if Cosmic Energy raises its price? If they're maximizing profit, if they raise their price, total revenue will fall, right? Because they're actually going to be moving to the left. If they raise the price, they're moving to the left along the demand curve. So they would no longer be here. They would be somewhere over here, right? And if they're somewhere over here, then obviously you're also going to be moving to the left along marginal revenue. So marginal revenue, total revenue would fall because you're giving up marginal revenue. You didn't have to explain that, by the way. D, this one, people lost a lot of points because you seem to miss the word explain. It said if demand for the new device increases, explain what will happen to each of the following in the short run. So if demand increases, what will happen to each of the following in the short run? Number 1, profit maximizing output. A lot of you correctly said profit maximizing output will increase because you anticipated, right, that the demand curve will shift to the right, and if the demand curve shifts to the right, so does the marginal revenue curve, and if marginal revenue shifts to the right, then you're going to have an intersection point of MR and MC that's going to be further to the right than it was. Okay, so a lot of you said it will increase, but you didn't explain. So you just got 1 point, and then you got a 0 on the explain point. The explain point is because marginal revenue shifts to the right. Okay, and then it also asks what happens to total cost. And a lot of you correctly said total cost will increase, but you didn't explain why. Total cost will increase. Why? Because Q increases, right? If quantity increases, unless total cost is like a negative number, right? If quantity increases, then total cost must increase. So that is all of the 10 points on that monopoly graph.